So many people want to start making content, but so many people are afraid of seeming like they don't know what they're doing on camera, feeling like they're cringe, or any of those sorts of things that generally just stop people from getting started in the first place. But the most important thing to remember about all of this, the best part of it, the most fantastic thing about being small on social media and getting no views and making bad videos during that time frame is that no one's going to see them. Your worst videos, the ones that underperform, the things that you'll be most embarrassed by one day when you do succeed, are the videos that nobody saw anyway. So you'll be just fine. If you do all of the things that result in a video flopping, if you took too long to get to the point, if you didn't speak confidently, all of these things that result in people scrolling away in short form content on TikTok and things like that, it's fine, because no one saw it. You know, if you look at the retention graph on any short form video, even ones that did well, more than half the people have checked out by 5 seconds in. So if you and ahed your way to 60 seconds or whatever, didn't matter, no one saw it. For example, take a look at this video over on TikTok. It did 86,000 views. I would consider that quite a successful video for my account. Now, if we go and look at the retention graph over here, look at this, right? Hang on. At 5 seconds in, only 60% of that 80,000 people were still there. And remember, that is on a video that did well. Your biggest hurdle as a content creator on any platform is getting people past those initial few seconds. You've got to be able to grab someone's attention and give them a reason to want to stick around. On TikTok, it's harder still because people are mindlessly scrolling. You have got less of a chance of keeping people around because they've got no obligation to you in their head. You guys that clicked on this video, you made a decision at some point along the line to have chosen to click this video. There was something about it, whether you recognize me from other content, whether it's the title of the video or the thumbnail or whatever, or your personal interest in achieving what I'm trying to help you achieve, you had a vested interest in clicking this video, and therefore you'll give it generally more than 5 seconds. On YouTube, the equivalent retention graph rating is typically about 30 seconds. On YouTube, you've got 30 seconds to make sure you've got somebody's attention. On TikTok, it's 3 seconds. Which, by the way, back to that retention rating at 5 seconds. To get paid on TikTok, a viewer has to watch your video for 5 seconds. That's called an engaged viewer. If somebody swipes before that point, they do not count. So 40% of the views on this video didn't pay. Not at all. And here's the truth about your first videos anyway. Everybody's afraid of their first videos being bad and they try and figure out what they can do to stop it. I put out a video yesterday asking people for questions that they have on how to assist them with social media. And the most common question was, how do you come across better on camera? They're not very confident yet. And the answer to that is very simple. It's you just make more videos. You just make more videos. I've been making videos full time now for 6 years and I've easily made 30,000 videos. Easily. Unless you are just especially talented on camera, in which point I don't think you'd have been asking this question in the first place and you'd probably succeed way quicker. There is no world in which you don't just have to do the hard bit, you know? Everyone's first 100 videos are abysmal. Everyone does the exact same thing. I could scroll on TikTok for the next couple of minutes, right? It would not take me long to find the exact thing that I'm talking about that stops people getting views in terms of just their inability to be on camera well. You know what I mean? Something that's second nature to people that make videos is you take the breath before the recording press gets pressed, right? I see it constantly on TikTok where in that valuable first 3 to 5 seconds, people go, and then they start talking. They go, and then they start talking. The second you scroll, you swipe. It turns people away. But it's something that you just have to do. You know, everybody does it. I look back at my old videos sometimes. I did it. There is no way, really, that you get to skip the period of time where you make bad videos. Everyone's first few videos are bad. But it doesn't matter, because nobody ever sees them. And in worst case scenario that somebody does see them, do you know why that'll be? It'll be because you made it. You succeeded. People in long-form content love to go on people's YouTube pages, filter by oldest, and see what they were. A lot of YouTubers private or unlist their first few videos specifically because of this, but a lot of people don't, and it's quite interesting to look back at where people began and just how their cadence and confidence on camera has changed over the years, and it is going to be years, by the way. Never get into social media assuming that it's going to happen fast. because it just probably isn't. You know, there are people out there that grind for a decade to get monetized. Never mind, you know, to a point where it could be a full-time job. Granted, if it takes that long, there are a lot of lessons that somehow people just sort of missed, but it happens. Your job as a content creator is to try to learn a little bit of information from every video you post. Every single time you post a video, whether it succeeds or whether it flops, there is data that you can garner from that. I heard James Smith, I don't know if you guys know who James Smith is, but he was an old personal trainer that became an online coach and then more of a businessman and social media guru sort of thing. Business guru would be more accurate, I suppose. And one thing that he calls it is being a content scientist, and I quite enjoy that because I sort of related to that. Because there will come a point where you learn to obsess over every different thing of your video. For example, notice how my scene just changed, right? That's because your attention span was probably starting to waver. Reality is your attention span probably started to waver a little bit ago because I was probably sat in that exact same position for at least 2 to 3 minutes. On TikTok, you can't get away with that. Here, I expect more because it's YouTube. You've got a better attention span. Again, you're invested by this point. However, on TikTok, nope, people just scroll. They just scroll. It's very easy to just scroll. So every few seconds, you've got to be changing the thing. It's the Mr. Beast style editing. It's retention editing. And sadly, attention spans are in the bin. And if you want to win the game of social media, you have to play it, you know? People hate it when people do that. They love to hate the player rather than the game, but it's the truth. You're here to succeed. You need to garner attention. You need to keep people's attention. And sadly, that means using all the little tips and tricks that you possibly can to make sure that just people are not scrolling away. Every single piece of content you post, you are able to look at and be like, right, at what point did somebody scroll away? There. Why? Well, what did I say? What was I not saying? What was I not showing? Was it a fact that I talked about a thing rather than showing it you? For example, I talked about the retention graph on TikTok. I showed you it though. If I did that on TikTok, if I just talked about it rather than showing you it, that's a missed opportunity for a scene transition and then a re-attention establisher. You know, every time I change my position, or every time I walk to another room, that's just something that once again grabs your attention and resets it a little bit. Because again, I am in the business of attention. That is what social media is all about. It's keeping attention spans, right? Every social media guru that doesn't know what they're talking about loves to use the hook. The algorithm has changed, here's what you need to know, right? If you don't know what a hook is, by the way, it's the start of a video. It's the thing that gets you to click and stick on the video and watch it. Now, the algorithms will never change what matters the most. Here's how every platform on here gets paid, right? Whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, every single platform gets paid through advertisements, right? The more of you see adverts, the more money the platforms make, and then the more money they pay the creators, generally. TikTok likes to play around with that concept. They make a lot of money, they don't like giving it out. And the more money they make, the less they like to give away. YouTube is the fairest for that. But the point is that all of the platforms make money through you seeing adverts. The longer us as creators can keep you on the platform for, the better. The more we will be rewarded. If I can keep somebody for a greater percentage of a total video, that video will get pushed out to more possible people. You know how everybody likes to say they're stuck in 200 to 300 view jail? No. When you post on TikTok, what happens is that video gets pushed out to an initial few hundred people, right? And then based upon how those few people engage with it will depend upon whether it then gets pushed out to some more people. And then based on how they engage with it, it gets pushed out to some more people. Do you see what I mean? So every single time you upload, you think, oh, I got 200 views. I'm in 200 view jail. No. It just means that that video wasn't good enough to engage with those people enough for it to be pushed out to the next wave of people, and so on and so forth. That's just the nature of social media. And because this is always how these platforms get paid, and because money is the most important thing to the platforms at the end of the day, that is why always the algorithm will be, did the content creator keep the people watching for longer? Did it create a long view session, right? If after you guys watch this video, you go and watch someone else's video about social media growth, or you watch another one of my videos about social media growth, platform doesn't care whose it is, they're still making money, right? So as long as you are consuming video after video after video after video, think about your doom scrolling sessions on TikTok where you just swipe for an hour in bed every morning and every night before you do anything productive, or 2 hours, God forbid, show me your screen time. That is exactly what the platforms want, because what you don't realise is you are seeing an advert every 4 to 5 swipes. Let me demonstrate that for you. Let's see how many times I have to swipe before I start getting adverts, right? Commission paid doesn't count. It's got to be an actual real advert. Right, here we go. Advert, Chase UK. Let's see how many more swipes it is until another one comes up. My bet is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there we go. Now TV at 4. That's an ad. 1, 2, 3, ad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ad. 1, 2, 3, ad. 1, 2. Oh, 2, and then it was an ad. 1, 2, ad. No, that's not an ad. This is an ad. Do you see my point? Every single time I saw an advert just then, platform made money. A lot of people think that because of short form being short form on TikTok, that there's just no money to be had. But that's not true, because all of these companies, they're paying for that space. You know, at the end of the day, advertisers have to pay TikTok for that video to have been there in the first place. I understand, by the way, that these videos about social media education will be quite repetitive, because at the end of the day, that's how education works. When you were in school, you were not taught something just once and then forgot it. I remember when I picked my GCSEs, I was really quite disappointed because I chose history thinking, oh, we're going to learn about the Greeks, the Romans, the Tudors, stuff that I'm interested in. But instead it was just World War II for 3 years. 3 years. And just the same sort of stuff over and over again. How much of it stuck in my head? Not as much as probably should have done. But that's how we learn. That's how humans learn, is through repetition. The first time you do a thing, you don't necessarily take it in. You don't necessarily learn anything from it. It just happens, it's gone. The 100th time you do a thing, the 1000th time you've done a thing, you get better at it. And this is how we loop back to the whole point of this video, is that the way that you get better on camera, the way that you sort of get over this fear of filming yourself because other people are going to judge you, is that no one's going to see it. You are not going to make good videos until you've put the reps in, until you've practiced lots, until you get good at this. So it don't matter. Just do it. Why do you care what they think? They're not you. They're not paying your bills. They're not setting up your legacy. The people that you're so afraid of judging you for making content in the first place are not thinking about you the second they scroll away from whatever video it is of yours that they saw. You were a fraction of a thought of their day, and for some reason you allow these fractions of thoughts to be the thing that holds you back from doing the thing that you really want to do in your life, that could potentially change your life. Everyone has got a supercomputer in their pockets every single day, always, these days, from a very young age. I went to Chester Zoo the other day. I was astounded at how many children were playing games on their phone rather than looking at the animals. We have these supercomputers from such a young age, and they are pretty capable of changing people's lives. You can make millions of pounds from your phone if you're good enough at it. Back to just putting in repetitions in terms of making videos. People go, well, everything takes so much time because of scripting and things like that. But you don't actually have to script videos, right? Not 1 second of any video of me has ever been scripted, except for like an advert I did from a cat game once where I had to say specific things. But that might have been the easiest £500 I've ever made. I literally had a TikTok account with 18,000 followers where I just played games, and there was a cat game that wanted me to, promote it, and it was like 500 quid. Sure, go for it, But even in this video right here, not one single word of it has been scripted. There has been talking points that I wanted to get through, and if I was sort of less practiced at this, I probably would have noted those down prior to beginning. But for the most part, I just know what I want to talk about, know the things that I want to cover, and because I've done this so many times, how many times have I stood in front of this camera, or a camera, for the last 6 years? I can just press record and go. And if for any reason I feel like I don't know what I'm about to say next, I just go, and I just stop recording. See how I changed position there? That was because I just clicked stop. The camera's in my hand. I stopped recording. I didn't actually, in the editing software, splice anything out. I didn't go and think about what to say next and then cut that, which some people don't even cut that. You should, because again, any dead seconds are time for people to scroll, because again, most of my advice is specifically leaning towards the TikTok side of things. I did it just then. I don't even know. I did it subconsciously. I had to take a deep breath. I'd been talking for quite a while. I'd ran out of air, and instead of breathing on camera, I stopped the recording to breathe. That is something that I just do. I don't think about, and so will you with enough practice. But instead, especially on TikTok, people do that at the very beginning, at the start of a video. They go, and then they start talking. Next time you're scrolling on TikTok, watch. Just watch the amount of people that take a deep breath at the start of their video. Whether it's a second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, it doesn't matter. You have got to stop. You've got to stop. And I truly believe that getting good at just talking off the cuff is going to be the way that the future is, you know? I don't know if you see a lot of these social media gurus talking about how authentic content is back. It should never have left, you know? We have to retention edit to keep people around, sure, but we have to mix that, you know? I don't overly edit these videos. You don't see sound effects, you don't see things going up and graphics on screen. Mostly because that is just not something that's within my skill set. Maybe one day I'm going to employ an editor and have to. However, it isn't required for success, you know? I've got a friend who he's making his TikTok about like Warhammer miniatures, and he wants a camera like mine, the DJI Osmo. But I was trying to tell him, you don't have to have a camera like this. You can be just perfectly fine with a phone, you know? I bought this house without ever using a fancy camera, you know? You don't need one. The authenticity side of creating content comes from being able to hold the camera in your hand. I had that section earlier where I put it on the tripod, but you notice how it wasn't the whole video? These bits here where I can just hold the camera, wiggle you around, talk to you like this will just subconsciously, and that's something you have to understand about content creation, is a lot of the things that you're trying to achieve when it comes to making somebody feel something are not necessarily something conscious that they would otherwise have thought about. You want them to feel things without really knowing why it's happening. That's all social media is. Whenever you like make a video that is designed to keep people around to the end, most of the ones that succeed very well are the ones that do it without the person really realizing that it's even happening. There's something called opening and closing a loop when it comes to content creation. You might pose a question at the beginning and answer it towards the end. You might open and close several loops over the course of your video, and as your content creation journey carries on, these might become something small and easy that people are expecting to see. With my short form content, people expect to see Kuon in most videos. So they will watch a video that is not about Kuon with that loop open, specifically to see that game at any point in that loop close. That is helping my retention because the video could be something that I haven't even considered Kuon about. I haven't thought about it. It wasn't going to show up. It's not about it. But people are watching it thinking it will, just subconsciously. You know, they're expecting it. Or Pepsi Max, or any of the other things that have just been sort of a visual hook for me over the years. I've had so many different visual hooks. I used to spend a lot of time in Fitness World talking about the different brands of gym machines. If I showed Techno Gym, the machine video would succeed. I haven't done that for years. I'm tempted to do one today just to see if the same thing still works, because I think it'd be really funny if it did. I really enjoy making these videos where I can help people because I think it rolls off my tongue so naturally. I've got a lot to say, and again, I will repeat myself a lot, and I'll probably ramble on a bit, and you'll probably get bored the 40th time you hear me say that you have to be able to be engaging on a camera and you're going to have to put the reps in. But it's one of them where I know it. I know this pretty inside out at this point. I have grown, I think, 10 TikToks now to monetization, from 500,000 followers, 300,000 followers, 200,000 followers, 100,000 followers, 70,000 followers, 60,000 followers, 30,000 followers, 12,000 followers. I grew an account the other day to 20,000 followers in a day. There are people who just repost my content to grow their accounts at this point. It's kind of insane that that happens, but it does, and there's not a lot I can do about it on TikTok, sadly. But I am a firm believer in life in the quickest way to not make yourself look a fool is to simply keep your mouth shut on topics that you do not understand. Okay? I've got an electric shower upstairs. It's kind of broken. I don't feign ignorance on knowing how to fix it. I've got a friend who's very good at that sort of thing. When he eventually comes to fix it, it's going to be one of them where I'm not going to question a thing he's doing because I understand he knows things that I don't. He gets it. He's done it. He's put the reps in. So I'm going to shut up and listen, you know? Leave him to it. Whereas my skill set lays within fitness. My skill set lays within gaming. My skill set lays within social media. So I just speak on those three topics. That's it. That is it. And that's how content creation is. Find the things that you're good at, speak on them. If you find something you're not good at, rather than speaking confidently about how to be good at it, don't do that. Make videos about how you're trying to get better at it. Make that a journey. Make that something people want to tune into. That's something that happens in fitness TikTok all the time at the minute. There's a bit of a problem, is that people start fitness content under the assumption that they have to be educational. They have to teach people how to build muscle or lose weight. But you don't. You could just chronicle your attempt to build muscle and lose weight. And then you do not open yourself up to as much ridicule as well. Because again, typically fitness influencing and fitness videos are usually a younger man's game. The sorts of folk that end up wanting to grow their fitness social media are usually on the younger side. And younger people don't tend to have as much muscle because they've just simply not trained for as long, so they're not going to have as much muscle. But when they start making videos while not having very much muscle about how to grow a lot of muscle and typically try to correct people with more muscle than them on how to grow more muscle, you can see then how they end up getting laughed at and therefore their content less taken seriously. Versus just going, I'm trying to build more muscle, here's what I'm doing. Do you see? I think there's a big problem at the minute in fitness content where a lot of people are making content that's educational when they don't need to be doing educational content. And the reason for that is that it is quite heavily monetizable. The reality is, right, over my fitness career, over my social media career, if I'd have stayed exclusively in fitness, I would have made so much more money than branching out into gaming. The gaming sponsors pay less, there's fewer of them, the people are just sort of harsher sort of individuals because gamers. Fitness, there's so much more money to be made, right? If I make 10 fitness videos in a day, if I sell 4 fitness programs off the back of that, I'd make $1,000 a month, $3,000 a month off of that. Just like that. Just 4 programs a day. Just 4 people purchasing a £25 profit program per day is £3,000 a month. That's all it is. 4 people. 4 humans. When you might get 500,000 views a day. I remember one of the biggest question marks of my social media career in terms of what could have been for me was when I first started the gaming stuff. It was before my fitness stuff sort of wound down, as it were. I didn't fall off and then start the gaming stuff. I started the gaming stuff while my fitness stuff was still rolling and then neglected the fitness stuff because of it. Like when I first did my gaming playthroughs, I was barely posting fitness stuff, even though the views were still there when I did. And I was like, if I'd have just not done that, would things have been fairly different now? I don't know. Probably though. But once again, as always, I hope that this video has motivated somebody that was on the fence about actually just getting started to just get started. Because one way or another, even though you think your videos are terrible, even though they probably are terrible, you're going to have to go through a period of time where they are terrible. You might as well get that period of time ticking. I've been on Accutane for my skin now since December. It takes literally like 6 months for it to do much, you know? And I remember thinking, well, I got to get started now because in 6 months' time I'll have wished I started even earlier, you know? And I'm 8 months in now, so here we are. Get off the fence, make your first video, try and learn something from every video you post. You've got this. I have faith.